for more on this, I want to bring in Brian Claypool, a trial attorney. Brian, as we're listening to Stephanie lay out kind of the complexities of this hearing today, I am drawn to Alec Murdaugh, and I've been watching him on the screen for the last couple of minutes. He's now seated in court. This is a live picture of Alec Murdaugh and his legal team, and he's kind of yucking it up with his defense team. He's laughing. He seems very relaxed. I mean, there's a lot on the line, a possible second trial. What do you make of his demeanor in court and the confidence he seems to have right now?
Hey, Marnie, always great to see you. Yeah, Alex Murdaugh is Alex Murdaugh. He's self-absorbed. He's a narcissist. He's an egotist. And that's why he's doing what he's doing. I mean, he should be sitting in that chair with his hands crossed and not saying anything. But it's all about him. And I think he's just exhibiting this selfish behavior that led in part to a guilty verdict.
So the judge has set a very narrow focus for these hearings, wants to know what the clerk told the jurors and more specifically whether that impacted their guilty verdict. It seems pretty straightforward, is it?
Yeah, Marnie, look, the optics of what Rebecca Hill allegedly did look bad, but the parameters that Justice Toll implemented, I think, are so restrictive that you're likely to get an outcome that there won't be a new trial. What do I mean by that? Well, she's only going to ask two questions. Did Rebecca Hill say anything improper to you? Did that then impact, if so, did that impact your decision? The problem with that first question I have, Marnie, is it's very open-ended. What's improper? One juror might think something else is improper than another. I think the better question should have been, did Rebecca Hill say anything to you about this case? Because she's not supposed to say anything about the case to the jurors. And then if the answer to that question was yes, what did she say to you? And then follow up with that. But absent that, though, I mean, it's very narrow. And if they say, oh, she didn't say anything to me, then this motion for new trial is dead on arrival.
Right. And also, isn't it significant that the alternate jurors will not be questioned, right? I mean, they were the ones who brought this forward to begin with.
Absolutely, Marnie. And look, I'm not siding with Murdaugh. I think the jury got it right. But what we're talking about now is, was this a fair trial? You're entitled to that under the Constitution. And I think Justice Toll made a mistake by not allowing the lawyers to question the alternate juror. And remember, Marnie, there was also a juror that was discharged. Why do I believe that? Because there should have been a third question on this list of questions to the jurors. And that question should be, did the alternate juror talk to you at all about what Rebecca Hill told her, right? Because Rebecca Hill could have said something to the alternate. Alternate could have communicated that to the jurors. Did the discharged juror ever communicate to you anything that Rebecca Hill said? That's not even covered in this. And then you get into another issue with, remember, there was an allegation that Rebecca Hill falsely reported a Facebook posting that led to one of the jurors being discharged. I mean, that should be front and center in this motion for a new trial. And it's absolutely not. You're not going to hear from either of those jurors. And another thing, Marnie, is she's not even allowing the lawyers to question the jurors. I find that to be a little bit suspicious too. 5 or 10 minutes for two lawyers to talk to these jurors, that's not unduly burdensome. And that's going to help you get to the truth of the matter to avoid the matter going all the way up potentially to the U.S. Supreme Court.
And it only takes one juror to say they were influenced, right, Brian?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Just one juror saying, hey, look, I heard something from Rebecca Hill and that impacted my decision. But look, Marnie, I've done a lot of jury trials over the years. There's a sanctity that's associated with high profile criminal trials. And what I mean by that is, like, I almost got kicked out of a trial, a big case I had in Florida, because I smiled at a juror in the elevator and said hello, right? That was reported to the trial judge. I had to beg and plead for mercy to stay on that case because that judge didn't want anything to influence these jurors. In my opinion, I think if any of this is truthful with Rebecca Hill, I really do think there should be a new trial. But that's not likely to be the case because of South Carolina. And my last point is, these lawyers are going to be allowed to cross-examine Rebecca Hill. That's going to be the only hope for the lawyers for Murdaugh is questioning Rebecca Hill and talking to her, for example, about the Facebook posting, talking to her about what she allegedly put in the book, the plagiarism. Did she talk to any other jurors? So that really is going to be, I think, more powerful than what you're going to hear with the judge asking these two open-ended questions of the 12 jurors.
And I just want to point out there was a woman that they just showed on the screen who's in court. That's Stephen Smith's mom. He was murdered several years ago, and it's all been connected to the Murdaugh family, or allegations that it has been. Real quickly, Brian, the Crumbley trial also going to be getting underway in Michigan later this morning. Jennifer Crumbley being charged with involuntary manslaughter. What do you make so far of the proceedings and the testimony in this case?
Look, I think this case is unprecedented, and I think this case is necessary to hold parents responsible if they are on notice that their child has a mental health issue and they have access to a gun. And in this case, Marnie, you had one step further. You had an actual note, a picture with a note of Crumbley, saying blood everywhere. I think he said something like, I need help, I can't stop myself. And then the school says, the counselor said he needs to get help now, immediately. I think at that point, for a parent to not pull your son out of school and get help, or minimally make sure that the gun that you had in the house is not in his backpack, I think that's troublesome. And I think a case like this, whether there's a guilty or an acquittal, I think this is going to help parents have a bigger stake in these cases to try to prevent mass shootings. It's going to be a tough one, though, for prosecutors.
All right, two high-profile cases that we continue to watch this morning. That is live on your screen out of Michigan. Brian Claypool, as always, your perspective appreciated. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Marnie.